Hi everyone and welcome, my name is Domsey. Today we're going to be talking about TAIP by Baby Audio, and it's spelled TAIP, and that's because it's artificial intelligence based, so it's a bit different than the other TAIP plugins that you may have tried, and we'll be checking it out in the context of one of my songs, House of Postcards. There's actually, it's about going to different places, experiencing different cultures, and kind of bringing them back with you, and having that feeling of nostalgia, and we'll try to recreate that in the mix with TAIP, and we'll see how it goes. But before we do so, please subscribe to this channel and let's check it out. Okay, the user interface of TAIP looks pretty nice. We can actually change the color of the user interface. We can change it to black, gray and white, and we've got you can load presets, save presets, and you've got a bunch of presets here, and we won't be looking at those because I'm not really a presets guy, to be honest, but they're there if you want to. You can actually bypass the plugin by clicking on Baby Audio here. You can switch the auto gain on and off if you want to compensate for the volume difference that you might get with the drive setting here. So we've got drive control, output control, and then a mix slider in the middle. We've got a noise slider, a wear slider that kind of like brings modulation to the signal to kind of have like that worn out tape effect. And if you combine the wear setting with the mix setting, you get a flanging effect. We've got a glue slider that basically changes the dynamics of the signal. That adds glue if you, let's imagine, set it there up to like compression, and you can like heavily compress the signal if you want to. Two different output settings, normal and hot. The hot setting has got more drive to it, so if you want to drive the signal a bit more, you set it to hot. You've got two different models, single and dual. If you set it to dual, you have basically two TAIP machines working at the same time, and driving half of the signal each. And then we've got a presence slider that brings back some of the high frequencies that you might lose from the TAIP emulation. And then you can choose whether you want the TAIP emulation to react to the high frequencies or not. Basically, by changing the slider setting, you get more or less drive on the high frequencies, and same with the low frequencies. So if you want to drive less of the low end and keep it cleaner, you can do that by changing the setting here. Right, let's check out TAIP in the context of my song House of Postcards, and we'll play with the drive setting first.
I'll be ready.
Let's back it up.
The two-sided tears in my eyes will never leave me. The streets rise as a unison choir over my body. Peace tries to make its voice.
So basically, the plugin adapts to the signal that you send at it.
Is heard among the living.
Let's really push it.
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you try.
So you can get actually crazy with this plugin.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life.
Okay, let's do a before and after without. Here, maybe. Yeah, without.
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life. I'm finally sighted.
Without.
This house of
With.
postcards has no.
Let's start again and let's add a bit more drive. Without.
Among the living, I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life, I'm finally sighted.
Without.
This house of postcards
With.
has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome.
So the gain compensation thing is pretty good, but you might still have to mess around with the output knob a bit. Okay, let's actually push the mix knob all the way and do the same thing.
On the flanks of my life, I'm finally sighted.
With.
This house of postcards has no receiver.
With.
All the places from Prague to Rome, and all the places you not go home. Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
With.
Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then. Your faith will be traveling by if you let it.
So, yeah. Let's carry on and add a bit of that wear on the master bus.
Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
Without.
Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then.
So, modulation not only introduces, you know, that kind of wobbly thing, that is kind of cool movement, but it also has an effect on the transients. Check it out. Let's try it again. Without.
Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
With.
Let us feel, let us breathe,
Yeah.
we'll live happily then. Your faith will be.
I'm smiling because there's something happening to the width as well, you know, and it makes it interesting, to be honest. So if you just put a tiny bit of it, like this, without.
Places you not go home.
With.
Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
Without.
Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then.
This is very cool, and I think it enhances the feeling of nostalgia in this song because we have that. Yeah, kind of that blurry feel of remembering times, good times that we lived and that we want to relive in a way. So, really cool thing. Let's play with the glue setting a bit. And we're still on the master bus. We've not touched the other tracks. We'll check them out later. Okay, let's try it. Let's push the glue setting a bit more.
Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
Listen to the kick and snare. Without.
Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
With.
Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then. Your faith will
Okay, we'll push the output a bit more. Without.
be traveling by if you let it. While people
This is too much. With.
in overcrowded cars will become hopeless. This house of postcards has no receiver. All the places.
I'm just noticing something else. Listen to the top end of everything. Without.
This house of postcards has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome.
Kind of puts a cover onto everything. Let's progressively introduce the glue setting. Without.
will become hopeless. This house of postcards has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome are all the places you not call home. This house of postcards has no.
Okay, it's kind of funny because there's a change in volume when you start, you know, around this area, and then it drops again, you know, right towards the end. There's more, you know, there's a lot of compression going on, so yeah.
All the places from Prague to Rome are all the places you not go home.
This is kind of cool in the middle before.
Says you
Wait a minute.
let us go, let us gather again.
With?
Let us feel, let us breathe,
Without?
we'll live happily then. Your
With?
faith will be traveling by if you
Yes.
let it. While
With?
people in overcrowded cars will become hopeless.
Yeah, it kind of reshapes the dynamics in a nice way, so you kind of have to play around with this setting a bit. We can play with the input and just drive it more.
Let us gather again. Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then. Your faith will be traveling by if you let it.
There's a change in volume, so I'm trying to figure out whether there's a change in tone as well. Obviously there is, but
Let us hope,
I mean frequency-wise.
let us go, let us gather again. Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then. Your faith will be traveling by if you let it. While people
This is kind of cool. I think the hot setting, because it kind of like brings together the elements in a warm way, it's kind of nice to use it with the mix knob.
around the place
Okay, let's go back.
living,
Without?
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With?
The wind blows on the flanks of my
Without?
life. I'm finally sighted.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I like it. Okay, let's play actually with the model first. The dual model.
Voice heard among the living.
Without?
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With?
The wind blows on the flanks of my life. I'm finally sighted.
Without?
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With?
The wind blows on the flanks of my life.
Okay, let's actually bring back some of the top end with the presence slider here.
I'm finally sighted. This house of postcards has no receiver.
Without?
All the places from Prague to Rome are all the places you not go home.
So you have to be careful with it on the master bus, and I know that I'm overdoing it, but yeah, let's do it again. Just add a bit of that with the mix setting here, just not too much. Okay, we'll actually progressively bring it forward until we have a setting that we like.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life. I'm finally sighted. you not go home. Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again. Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then. Your fate.
So if you play with the wear setting, you actually introduce flange if you play. So there's kind of like an interaction between the wear setting and the mix slider.
Be traveling by if you let it. While people
So we won't be using it now, but
in overcrowded cars will become hopeless.
so let's imagine now that we want to drive the low end more. Let's set it to the left.
Let's go, let us gather again. Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live.
So if you set it to the right, you actually prevent the tape drive to act on the low end too much. And the more you set it to the left, the more drive you'll have on the low end. And same with the high end.
Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again. Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily.
Kind of has a nice tone. Obviously that's too much, but I hope that you can get a good idea of what this sounds like on the master bus. All right, let's check it out on drums. Let's set it to the dark skin, and let's play around with it. So yeah, the noise setting won't be introduced until you actually sorry, let's bring this back to its default state. So until you actually play the signal. So there's kind of like an envelope tied to it. Right, you can really drive the signal on this thing. So let's try it. Let's push it all the way. And even more if you do so. And even more if you do so. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. All right. Okay. Let's bring it back to its default state, and we'll be more civilized. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Let's try and get a good tone from those drums. And that's kind of something that was missing in this mix, you know. Sometimes you try to find like the missing key on a mix where you have sample drums and they don't exactly fit in the mix. And yeah, maybe this will help. Maybe you can do this. So let's bring it down. Yeah, so this kind of emphasizes the note of the kick drum, so we don't want too much of that. Very nice. Actually, let's listen to the sound of the snare. Let's bring it to a point where every snare hit brings me to the kick, to the next kick. So like there's that motion going on. Right. The hot setting actually gives the impression that, well, everything is kind of sharper as well. It's not just driven. There's also more volume. So let's listen to it in context with the normal input first. In context, sorry. Normal.
Has no receiver.
Hot.
All the places from Prague to Rome.
Okay, let's actually go to the verse.
For living, I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me. The wind blows on the flanks of my life.
The hot input is a bit too much, but I like it.
If you trust me. The wind blows on the flanks of my life. I'm finally sighted.
Okay, let's listen to the motion of the snare now, and whether it actually brings me back to the next kick hit.
Among the living.
Okay, without.
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life. I'm finally sighted.
There's obviously too much of it when we listen to it solo, but in the mix, without.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life.
With.
I'm finally sighted. This house of postcards has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome, and all the places you not call home.
Nice. The tone of the snare actually changes with the dual model. And actually the high shape brings the snare sound back in the drum mix. Listen to that. So when you set it to 100, it's very snappy and very forward. And let's put it to minus 100. It's like the snare is back in the mix.
Let us go, let us gather again. Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live.
Now, let's do the same thing, but listen to the vocal with the high shape set to 100.
Around the places you not go home. Let us hope, let us go, let us gather again.
Minus 100.
Let us feel, let us breathe, we'll live happily then.
100.
Your faith will be traveling by if you let
Minus
it.
100.
While people in overcrowded cars will become hopeless.
There's a volume difference, but there's also a transient difference and also texture difference. So this is kind of a cool thing to play with, I think. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Let's actually try try it on the vocals, on the lead vocal rather. Let's try the white. Okay, lead vocal.
And run the places you not go home.
Yeah, something that I wanted to try on this song and that kind of inspired me with this plugin is that because of that feeling of nostalgia and wanting to go back to, you know, like some blurry memories, kind of relive that, I felt like the wear setting and the flangy effect kind of brought me that texture.
This house of postcards has no
Without?
receiver. All the places
With?
from Prague to Rome and Rome.
Listen to it in the mix now. Without.
This house of postcards
With.
has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome
Without.
and all the places you not go home.
There's kind of like that More Than a Feeling by Boston kind of vibe on the lead vocal. It reminds me of that song for some reason, you know. That sort of chorusy, flangy effect. Let's bring more drive to the vocal now.
This house of postcards has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome and all the places you not go home. On the flanks of my life I'm finally sighted.
Okay, without.
I'll stay put or take a leap through time if you trust me.
With.
The wind blows on the flanks of my life I'm finally
Without.
sighted. This house of postcards
With.
has no receiver.
Without.
All the places from Prague to Rome and all the places.
I think I find it cooler with the wear thing. And
Paper or take a leap through time if you try.
not all the time, maybe not in the verses, but in the chorus, I think it's cool.
Blows on the flanks of my
No.
life I'm finally sighted. This house of postcards
With.
has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome and all the places you not go home.
Yeah, I just find it really cool. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you won't like it, but that's something cool to experiment with. Okay, one last thing that I wanted to try is the electric guitar lead here. That's playing in the chorus, and we'll use the grey version of the plugin for this. So it's the same tonally, it's just the skin that's changing. There's nothing else, I think. Or is it? Is there? I don't know. Okay.
There.
This is very satisfying, this thing. I mean, the way you move with the knob, it actually reacts a bit later, and it's quite cool, to be honest. Yeah, there's just a very satisfying feeling of moving this thing. I like it. Okay, without. With. Okay, without. With. Okay, that's maybe a lot of drive, but let's listen to it in context now. Without.
This house of
With?
has no receiver.
Without?
All the places from Prague to Rome,
With?
all the places you not call home. This house of postcards has no receiver.
With?
All the places from Prague to Rome, all the places.
Very cool sound. Okay, let's listen to it with the wear flangy effect. Actually, without the flangy effect, but with the wear. See what I was talking about that feeling of nostalgia. Let's try to recreate that without. With. Okay, let's listen to it in the mix now without.
Receiver, all the places from Prague to Rome,
With.
all the places you not call home. This house of postcards
Without.
has no receiver. All the places from Prague to Rome, all the places you not call home.
Oh. Sorry about that. Right, yeah, there's a ton of things that you can do with this plugin, and it's so cool. I really like the sound of it. I know that I say that about a lot of plugins, but I'm sorry, you guys. It so happens that I like audio stuff, and I like this. The other thing that I like is that it's not too heavy on the CPU. If I opened IK Multimedia's tape collection, it would fry my CPU right now, and I'm not even talking about the acoustic plugins. But it has a great sound, so yeah. So should you get TAIP by Baby Audio? Well, there are 2 or 3 main things that I'm looking for whenever trying out TAIP plugins. The first thing is whether it has a dynamic effect on my signal, and in a pleasing way if possible. And in this case, it actually does something to the signal dynamically, and you can actually control that with the glue, the glue setting, which is really cool. The other thing is, how does it enhance my signal harmonically? And in this case, you've got multiple options that you can play with that will allow you to shape your tone, and in a really cool way. So I really like that. The fact that you can basically drive the high end of the signal or the low end of the signal more or less is really cool. And the other thing is, does it have extra features that can maybe modulate the sound in an interesting way? And in this case, you have not only the wear effect that allows you to bring a bit of modulation that reminds you of like worn out tape, but also the flangy setting the flangy thing that happens when you play with the mix slider as well as the wear setting. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I think you should try it out for yourselves and let me know what you think in the comments. Please do so. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye.